Black Cloud Rising. The author of this book, David Wright Foladay, who also wrote this book, Fire on the Beach. He is in town speaking here at Nauticus about these books, and he writes about Richard Etheridge, the first African-American keeper of a life-saving station down on the Outer Banks. But he also talks about Etheridge's role in Juneteenth. The story of Richard Etheridge really resonates with you.
It's so rich. I mean, it's so rich. It's such a rich story.
You've written 2 books about where Etheridge is featured. Why is that?
He's a forgotten hero. But over the course of his 58 years, he's born a slave. He, upon the outbreak of the Civil War, his first opportunity, he joins the Union Army. He's part of the first black troops to be armed. The 36th United States Colored Troop, this regiment composed of men who were mostly from Tidewater, Virginia, and then from Northeast North Carolina, a large contingent from the Outer Banks. We're going back to Northeast North Carolina to free the slaves that were there. So it's men going home to free family and loved ones. I knew that.
So he freed slaves from how many different locations?
All around Elizabeth City. And the slaves that were out there were still enslaved, right? They were still attached to the plantations and whatever. And so
even though the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed?
Right, because there was nobody to enforce it. So they went to enforce it. Right? So you have black
So this was
troopers.
before he even got to Texas.
Oh, way before. After actively being involved in the fight in the Eastern Theater in Virginia, Maryland for a time, Northeastern North Carolina, then his regiment, and all these black troops are in Texas.
From your research, do we know whether the unit that Richard Etheridge was with, do we know that they eventually went into Texas and played a role in the freeing of those last enslaved, or they played a role in the enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation?
It was in the enforcement. After the war, he comes back, he's active in his community. When the early Coast Guard was called the Life Saving Service is formed, he joins. Etheridge goes from the lowest ranking surfman in one station to the keeper of another one. He makes one of the most formidable crews on the coast. So it just seems this important American hero whose story needs to be told, and it's a rich story.
Are we going to see a movie based on any of your work?
If I was king of the world, absolutely.
Can you say if you have been approached to have your novel made into a movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you say who has approached you?
I can't. I shouldn't. So.
Can you say if it's a name that everyone would recognize?
It's a name that everyone would recognize. So I can say that.